Shoes. Everyone loves shoes. I like shoes. People who own it actually like it. And when it comes to shoes, it was invented just to cover your feet. But in this world, it's not just about covering your feet. In World War One and Two, it was pretty much useful for the people, for the soldiers to cover your feet, but it was not comfortable. But after 1950s, it was more of an efficiency. It was more of an performance. It was more of an comfort, a fashion. Still in 2023, it's more of an comfort and a fashionable thing in 2023 too. I would love to introduce this beautiful brand I like the most, Nike. Hi, I am V. Shamsundar from ISSM Business School 2023 batch. Nike gives you a beautiful example of a brand which started from its scratch. Like they started the selling of their shoes in a different brand name, and they started selling their shoes from a car trunk. I would like to introduce two different persons called Phil and Bill. Phil Knight was a person who did his MBA from Stanford and came up with this idea from procuring shoes from Japan and selling it in America. So the selling was not going really good, so he got the help of Bill, who was the coach of Phil. Bill actually helped him with much more than business. He started to introduce new shoes into the runners' feet. So when it comes to introducing new shoes to the runners, it needs to be comfortable, and it needs to be more than comfortable, like traction, all these things where they need to be light when it comes to running. So Phil designed it. Phil procured the shoes from. He actually traveled to Japan to procure the shoes, where he just went for a travel like a tourist, and he got 12 pairs of shoes, and it didn't go well. So eventually it moved on, and they started to doing it better. Like they asked the designer to do it. They actually Bill designed it much more. Like he gave some design improvements to it, like putting on more amount of cushioning in it, making the less weight. So it was pretty good for the runners. It helpful. And during that time in 1964, they started their company called Blue Ribbon Sports. So it was the first store where they sold this tiger products, like Japanese. As I already said, this tiger products were from Japan, and Phil actually visited that and got a contract from them. The tiger products were sold, actually imported to Phil, and they started to sell as an American seller for tigers. So when it comes to selling these products, they got these products for $3.33, and of 300 pairs of shoes. Each invested $500 and $500 into this business. You can just believe $500, like $1,000 of starting a business. So it's a good strategy of investing a less amount of money and making the progress and more. So that was very inspirational too. And eventually they made good profits. They had their day jobs, but still they do this. And they came up with this idea called Nike, where they took off the Blue Ribbon Sports and came up with Nike before 1972. In 1972, it was a competition between this Tiger shoe brand and Blue Ribbon Sports, because they were selling equal amount of products. So they actually is selling it to them, but still it was a pretty good competition for them. So eventually the contract ended at 1972. Before that, Phil and Bill started to procure a new pair of shoes from subcontractors in Japan. They started to create new brand logos, which was very much interesting. Phil actually left his office and went to the nearest college and got a person who does graphic designing, and he paid $35 for the swoosh which we see here. this swoosh which we see here was really amazing. He paid $35, and eventually, after a few years, they listed in S&P 500, S&P 100. They gave few stocks to the women who actually designed this swoosh, and it was a generous move by Phil. And I came across this in an interview. So they moved on, and they marketed themselves in 1972 Olympics, and it was the greatest marketing idea for them. And the older contract with the Tigers and the Blue Ribbon came to an end in 1972. They started this production in 1971 of Nike, and as I said, they made a beautiful sale in 1972 in the Olympics. People love to buy their shoes, and eventually it grows and grows and grows. And every company has their drop, so eventually their drop came, and the situation is so bad for Nike, where their competitors like Adidas, Reebok, much more were there, and it was not going pretty good. And they came up with a beautiful idea of signing a basketball player for making this shoe race going more faster and efficient. So they came up with Michael Jordan, the legend Michael Jordan, and they created the beautiful shoe lineup called Air Jordans. People would have seen a movie called Air, and the old story is so much inspirational. It's a beautiful story where they sacrificed some things, they sacrificed a lot of money into this. Even in their situation, they sacrificed a lot of money into the Air Jordan, and still they are making really good money out of it. There's a best decision which Nike made. Nike doesn't make just Air Jordans, just normal running shoes. Much more than that. Air Jordans for from basketball. Actually, Air Jordans are basketball shoes, but it's a streetwear shoe now. So after the dip in 1983, they came up with this Air Jordan. They came up to the rise, and still they are the leaders. They are the kingmakers in shoe market and streetwears. I love Nike not just because of wearing it. It's fashionable, it's comfortable. Let's swoosh it. Just do it.